Qlik back again. Today we're apparently going to be talking about hungry hippos. Wait, which one of my grandkids changed my slide deck? We're going to be talking about information hungry hippos. I have a friend, we'll call her Ella Hippo, and last week she was telling me how Haley Hippo came walking in one day and wanted to know who had worked last Tuesday. It's just one request. How hard could this be? So she went out, she found her time and attendance data. She kind of manually scoured through it. It was just a handful of entries, and she got her the answer. Yay! Well, no sooner had the ink cleared on the note that she wrote her than Hannah Hippo came walking in. Hey, I want to know who worked last Monday between 7:15 and 9:30. Oh man, well now Ella's eyes were going to be strained a little bit more, or maybe her brain was going to be strained as she started trying to figure out how in the world to do a between clause with SQL for the employees, because she knew she didn't want to do this one with her eyes. That report wasn't even done yet. She didn't even finish the sequel before Ivey Rose came walking in her desk and said, "Hey, I need to know when dinner is. I need to know who worked last Wednesday at exactly 9:13 a.m." Well, you can feel poor Ella's pain, right? There's going to be more requests than she can possibly handle using an old-fashioned system where she has to figure out how to get that information one off. But the problem is that all she has is her time and attendance data. It's a list of every employee's punch in, punch out. Think of old-fashioned time cards, right? She's got those digital records, but what she doesn't have is any kind of time calendar where she would be able to get reports from it. Right? All she's clearly getting is the requests in a written form from these users or them screaming over her cubicle. Right? Well, if we could create a master calendar with time, then we'd be able to at least get a start. Because then if we could figure out how to make a relationship between the calendar entries and the employee time card entries, we'd be in business. Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on the Qlik interval function. The interval match function is one of my absolute favorite Qlik script functions because it lets us do exactly that. It lets us look at two different sets of records and take one value from one record, like the calendar date and time, and find the intervals in another set of records and then create that link. So what it's going to do is it's going to, for every minute that's in this table, it's going to go off, figure out, did that minute fit between that range, and if it did, it's going to create a record here in this timetable for that. And then we're going to be in business, and then Ella's not going to have to take any more requests at all. Haley Hippo and Hannah Hippo and Ivey Rose Hippo can walk up to the app anytime they want, pick any date range they want, any exact minute that they want, and find out exactly who the employees were that were working at that time. If they needed to know who was working on June 14th at 9:13 a.m., they would get the aggregate, but more importantly, like everything in Qlik, the detail records are there, so they would see exactly who the employees were if they had any doubt, and know exactly how long they had been working. In the blog, I'm going to go to a little bit more detail about the code, but what I did want to do is show you the code that's going to be in the blog. First thing, we've got to create that master calendar with time. And then the second thing we need to do is, once we've got that time calendar that we could use for any number of other applications, we want to do this interval match function. So let me show you the code that would be there to build this master calendar. Like any master calendar out there, and I am by no means the master calendar expert of the world. There are a lot sharper people than I that would show you they could build the same master calendar in 3 words. And they've got all kinds of really cool code that would go off and do this. I've tried to comment my code for you. If you find a better way to do it, do it. The result of this script is going to be that I have a date entry for everything between January 1st, 2022 and December 31st, 2023. You'll see I've added a few fields like the calendar month. I've got the year. I put these in dual format so that they're going to be sortable for you. Feel free to add any other fields you want. Don't write to me. Don't put in a comment. Dalton, you could do 80,000 other things in a calendar. I know. There could be years and months and quarters and fiscal periods and days a week. I get all that. Add whatever you want. I can turn around and come down here, and this was a preceding load. You could do other things. You can add things here or add things there. Do what you want. Second thing that I did here was I built a time calendar. This is a calendar of every minute of the day. There are 1,440 minutes in every day. I don't care what the day is, there's just minutes in days. Notice here, this is the thing that I wanted to kind of highlight. I can take that minute, if it's minute 1, all I've got to do is divide it by 1440, and I get that decimal fraction of time, which is exactly how we track things in Qlik, right? Our date time fields are numeric, they're decimal. So if I have 1,440th, then I know that that's 1 minute, and then 2 minutes, and then 3 minutes, and then 4 minutes as I walk through these loops. I'll explain some of this a little bit more in detail. Notice in the preceding load, I also go ahead and do some time calendary stuff. I need to know if these hours were parts of different shifts. I need to know if this was a quarter of an hour. You might want tenths of an hour. Whatever things you want, great. I store off my master calendar by itself just as dates. I store off my master time calendar just as time. I never ever have to do a second one of these. This is always going to be the same. And then I want to combine those two things. Well, I've got days and I've got times, and there's no real way to join those other than creating a Cartesian join, which is what I want. I want all 1,440 minutes to be joined into the calendar table. So I have all of my days, and then I have 1,440 minutes for each of those days. Yes, that puffs my calendar up a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. We can handle that. And then what we do is I create a timestamp that combines the date and the time. And you'll notice it's in an hour, minute format because I want every hour and minute for every day of the years. And then I go ahead and I store this calendar into a calendar with minutes. Well, now once that's done, I could have any number of other applications that may want to look at my master calendar, that might want to bring time in and be able to track time and see, oh, was that a quarter of an hour? Was that? Which time period, which shift does that correlate to? Whatever those other fields were, and I could bring in this calendar. Well, in my interval match application, the one that I'm building for Ella and the rest of those information hungry hippos, I'm going to load in that master calendar with time. And so I'm simply loading that in. I don't know how it worked. I'm just a poor little developer helping Ella's team. Some other really brilliant coder built that for me. I just use it, and that's the beauty of these QVDs. They don't have to know how it got built. They just have to know how to use it. Then I want to load in the time entry data. Now, of course, I'm loading this in from a CSV file so that I can hand you that data in my blog so that you can play with this if you want to get started with this. This would really come from your time and attendance system, whatever that TNA system may be. Once I've got those tables in, I need to create that relationship between them. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is show you we do the interval match function. And I'm going to do an inner join on that. And all I'm saying is I want you to take every calendar date and time, and I want you to find the interval of start and end date time that matches with. So for every minute, it's going to find every person's record and create a date and time calendar link there. And then this field in the employee time entry table is going to match with this one so that we'd be able to associate those. So let me go ahead and run this and let me show you how that looks. I have 1,051,000 minute records in my calendar. I have 1,000 time and attendance entries, and that ended up creating 416,890 matches between these two things. If I go ahead and show you my data model, you're going to see that image that I showed you in the PowerPoint, because this is what we needed, and that is exactly what got created when we did this interval match. For every time and attendance record, notice here now this was 1032 to 244. I've got a 121, a 120, a 122, a 124, a 119, a 123, a 118, and this is a preview version. If you look at this on the screen, you see these could be in sorted order, so don't panic. Why am I seeing the 10:32 p.m. entry? We're going to go ahead and take a look at this sheet now. Once we've built this data model, now everything else in Qlik is just the way that we would expect it to be, right? If anybody wants to say, I want to see who worked during 2023, and I want to see it in June, and I want to see it for the 14th, then voila, I can see that there's 1,440 minutes on June 14th. That's exactly what we expected. 341 different employees were working on June 14th. Some of them started on June 13th and their time rolled over to the morning. Some of them could have started on June 14th at any time during the day and worked, right? If they say, hey, I only care who worked at 9:13 a.m., I could scroll down to 9:13 a.m., click that, and I can see immediately we had 86 employees working on June 14th at 9:31 a.m., 9:13 a.m., and here are those employees' records. Not only do I get the aggregate like I could have done if I'd have done a between clause in SQL or something and returned the answer, I get to see who they are, and I can see what their start time was and what their end time was. So that if there were any other questions, Hannah and Haley and Ivey Rose Hippo could get those answers, and Ella could just sit at her desk drinking Mountain Dew or whatever it is Ella does at her desk. Maybe even work on other important report tasks and analytics things for the company. Hope that you have a great day, and be sure to read the blog to get a few more details about this.